Frieren's cast of characters has always been praised not just because of the variety kinds of personalities that we get to see, but also because of just how memorable they become over time. While some characters become popular very quickly, some take its time and show us just what kind of person they are, and they really flesh them out to be a very interesting but admirable character throughout the journey of Frieren. And Stark was no exception, as despite his personality and despite him being the student that Eisen mentored, these two reasons aren't the reason why Frieren chose Stark to join her party. It's something else, and that's because Stark in his own way showed just how capable he was and how powerful he truly is, and just what he was willing to do for the sake of others. But what really made Stark stand out the most was just simply the way he acted as a man, as he didn't act like your typical stereotype of a man, one which people believe that a man should never show any emotions or feelings or fear, because that's not the ideal way to be a man. As people who have this kind of mindset believe that any man who does this is just simply a coward or is not really a true man whatsoever. But Stark was able to show us that this line of thinking is very outdated and simply not true, because as Stark showed numerous times throughout the series, even if he has a fear of monsters and dangers, he's still able to stand up tall and be able to face the danger to protect the innocent people that may not be able to do because that's the right thing to do. And that's something that's really amazing to see from Stark, knowing his background and what he had to deal with when he was a child, as due to him being in a village full of warriors, he was expected to be a warrior, a strong one who was able to slay anything at any given time. And while his older brother was able to do just that, become a warrior that the other villagers respected, Stark wasn't so lucky, as even though he did try his best, many saw him as a failure who wasn't going to be nowhere near the skills of his brother. But despite all this, Stark never truly gave up, and that's mostly thanks to his older brother, as while everybody else lost hope on Stark, Stark's brother never lost hope on him and always tried to do everything he could to make sure that his brother was a great warrior and was somebody that a lot of people had respect for. But as if Stark's life couldn't get even more troubling, one day their village is attacked by demons, and while his older brother went in to of course stop this invasion, he was told by his brother to leave the village for his own safety, and that's exactly what Stark did. But over the years, Stark has always had this memory stuck in his head, as he believes that that was a coward's thing to do, as he believed that somebody who was a warrior would not have done what he did, which was run away from the danger. But later on he would realize that this is not really true, as he would eventually come to the realization that really in that scenario it was just his older brother trying to protect his younger brother from danger, something that he would eventually do as well when other innocent people who had no fighting skills whatsoever were in danger. He would be the one to be there for them to protect them. And one of the major things that Stark would eventually come to realize is that having fear isn't a bad thing. When we see dangerous things or are in fear of our lives, that's something that's very natural to feel. Fear is something that everyone feels regardless of who you are. And just because you're scared and afraid, it doesn't mean that makes you a coward or not a man, because there's a reason why these feelings and emotions exist. It's because people at some point in their lives are going to experience this. But of course, Stark wouldn't learn all of this alone, as eventually there would be people in his life that would teach him that he is not a coward, but a great person, and he is somebody that's worthy of being a warrior. And this of course are the people that are part of his group, this being Frieren and Fern. During their many interactions between Frieren and Stark, Frieren comes open about her many stories that involved Eisen, as despite Eisen being very strong and taking out enemies left and right, Eisen had something that he was very open about, and that is him oftentimes being scared whenever he had to face danger or when he was putting his life on the line to take down the monsters that were in front of them. That is something that Eisen was never scared to reveal, as he knew there was no point in hiding these feelings because they were just the honest truth. That he did in fact was scared whenever they had to battle. But the thing that really made Eisen stand out to Frieren the most is that even though he was scared, he never backed down, because he knew that there were people's lives at stake, and not only did he have to protect the innocent people, but he also had to protect his comrades as well, because his comrades were also important to him, and he realized that if he just left them there, to fight for their own, that would be something that he would never be able to forgive himself. With these stories that Frieren tells Stark from time to time, that even his master, the person that many people consider to be the strongest warrior of all time, even he too felt fear and was scared when going into battle. But just because he was experiencing all this, never once did people disrespect him or had any views that looked down on him. In fact, they actually respected him more for being honest and for still fighting head on to the things that many would want to be far away as possible, but not him, as he was willing to put his life in danger just for the other people's well-being. And because of all this is one of the reasons why Aizen hasn't been forgotten by Frieren, or in general, Frieren hasn't forgotten about her original group, because they were all great people who all did great things, who despite their flaws managed to accomplish so many things in their lives that it will be hard to forget about any of them. Which is why the moment where we see Stark fight the dragon is so very powerful, and that's because looking back, it really did demonstrate how much of an actual warrior Stark truly is. As sure, he was afraid of the dragon and believed that he had no chance of winning at all, he never once left the village that was in danger because of this dragon. He could have easily left the village and not be seen ever again, but he chose not to because he knew deep down that if he wasn't there, the lives of the villagers that he was with would be in immediate danger. And that's not something that he wanted to happen, as despite him not knowing these villagers for too long, he created great memories with them, and many of them looked up to him and saw him as a hero. So with this in mind, Stark didn't want to leave these people behind, and he didn't want to see any of them in danger whatsoever. But it's not like they were the only ones that had faith in him, as Frieren herself also had faith that Stark would take action and do something about the dragon. Even though, let's be honest, at any point given time, Frieren could have done something about the dragon without Stark's help, but she had patience and fully believed that Stark would finally decide to take action against the dragon. And while of course Fern, during their first encounters with Stark and seeing how much hesitation he had on taking down this dragon, didn't really believe Stark was up to it, Frieren was the opposite, and no surprise, Stark would eventually, despite him still being scared, would try to take on the dragon. And even though he was expecting Frieren to help him during this battle, he would soon realize that he didn't actually need Frieren's help, as despite what he believed, he was able to take down the dragon all on his own without any help from Frieren or Fern whatsoever, which of course came to a surprise to Stark. But this just proved Frieren's point even more, that not only did he have to believe in himself more, but also that he wasn't a weak person. And this wouldn't be the only time that we would see Stark shine and see what he was capable of, as during his battle with a demon known as Lini. Despite this demon showing how many fighting skills she was capable of, and despite her having the upper hand at Stark at first, not only making him be badly injured, but believing that she was going to win no matter what, because Stark was not capable of defeating her according to this demon, Stark showed that no matter how many times he's fallen, he was always going to get right back up, because as long as he's still alive, that means that the fight isn't over, which is the teaching that he learned from Aizen, that showed him that even if you are losing in a battle, it doesn't mean that the battle is lost just because you were dropped numerous times. The only times that you lost the battle is if you are taken out. But because he wasn't, no matter how many times this demon thought she beat him, no matter how many times she thought it was best for Stark to just go down and not put any fight whatsoever anymore, he never backed down. And due to her rushing to aid another demon, she really wasn't thinking straight, as eventually one attack of Stark's would eventually be the end for her. And what's really more impactful about this final attack is that Stark reveals that he actually was willing to put his life on the line just for the sake of putting this demon down, basically making it clear that if they were both to end up killing each other, that would have been perfectly fine for him, because the threat no longer existed, which just goes to show us once again that Stark was willing to once again risk his life as long as he was putting the enemy down. But despite all these skills, all these battles, all these things that showed that Stark is a true warrior and that he's not somebody to take lightly, what truly makes Stark a man is just simply how much of a gentleman he is. He doesn't treat people harshly, he treats people with respect, and in return he gets the respect back. In fact, every town that he's in, Stark becomes people's favorites and many people greatly appreciate him. And all he did was just show what kind of person he is, and he showed his true personality. He wasn't an arrogant, selfish, egotistical individual. He's just simply somebody that's kind to others and is just an easy person to get along with. And while these interactions with complete strangers were enough to just show Stark as a genuine nice person, the biggest one, and of course the obvious one, is his interactions and his relationship between him and Fern. If you have watched this series at all, you would know that Fern and Stark have completely different personalities, but despite them being completely two different kinds of people, they are still able to get along pretty well. And while Fern, like I mentioned before, didn't really had any hopes for Stark, eventually as time went on, she didn't mind being around Stark. Yes, sometimes she would tease him, sometimes they would butt heads, and sometimes have disagreements, but they never flat out hated each other, and Stark never hold a grudge against Fern, as later on he would even try to apologize to Fern if he felt that he was in the wrong. And because of this, they have this relationship where you could tell that they do care about one another. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, when Stark was calling himself a coward for running away when his village was attacked, he was saying all this during one of his conversations with Fern when he was talking about his past. And when Fern heard all this, all she had to say was that Stark was not a coward because the Stark that she knows doesn't run away from danger and is always in the front lines whenever there is trouble. It's these comments alone that really just show us how deep the relationship is between them, and it's just so great to see, as you know that there's some good chemistry between one another that makes it very obvious that it's not if they're going to end up together, but when they're going to end up together. But even if they're not a thing now, it's going to happen eventually, as you could just see from the many things that they have done together and the many times they showed a trust within each other. It's very obvious that none of this would have been happening and this relationship wouldn't have been a thing if Stark wasn't who he was, which is an accomplishment considering that Fern oftentimes has a habit of not expressing her feelings or emotions, but whenever she's with Stark, she expresses all kinds of things that we didn't expect Fern to express. And overall, Stark as a character is what truly is to be a man. A man can have flaws, a man can express weaknesses and show feelings that are natural, and this is something that a man can't show just because they're a man. And while Stark may be scared sometimes and may be showing fear, it doesn't mean that he's not a man, because that's just something that a lot of people will feel whenever they have to face danger. Of course, not everybody is like this, and some people can be unfearful, but that doesn't mean that everyone is like that, and we shouldn't view these people as lesser things because it's just unfair to do. And overall, Stark is the clear definition of brave. Bravery doesn't mean that you don't have fear whatsoever. People who are brave have fear, but despite the circumstances, they still do it anyways, which just shows how strong they are in reality, because some people will be perfectly fine backing down and go into hiding, but that's not who Stark is. And just because he's scared from time to time, it doesn't mean he'll back down easily. It just means that Stark is like your normal person. The only thing is that Stark is willing to put his life on the line for something that he believes is the right thing to do, or for the sake of the people who need protection the most. And for those reasons alone is why Stark is a true man. And that's where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.